Hey, what's up? It's Jake, and today we're going to go over a workflow for deploying application code. The reason that we're going to go over this is because we're going to compare it to the workflow for deploying infrastructure as code. Two totally different things. Application code, pretty well defined by now. Infrastructure as code, not so much. So we're going to go ahead and set a baseline. So, um, really, there's like a few things that are common amongst all application code deployments. They all use version control. You run the code locally, you make code changes, you submit your code changes for review, you do automated tests, you merge, you release, and then eventually you deploy. Well, if you're not familiar with application code, you're not a developer or whatever, let me explain this a little bit more. So using version control, all your code should be in version control. GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, code commit, something like that. There's absolutely no exceptions. Um, the number one red flag I would have if I walked into the door of a company is that if they didn't use some sort of version control system or VCS, I'd be like, all right, well, we're starting there before we fix anything because we need to know what people are doing and we need to be able to roll back. The next part is running locally. So you want to get it running on your machine, right? So the way that I do that is I use Docker a lot. So if I get an application, I recently built a React, um, it was a MongoDB Express React Node.js app in JavaScript, and I got it working on my machine. And then the first thing I did was I moved it into a container and I got it running in a container. So then I sent the container to my buddy and I had him pull it down and run it on his machine. And it worked just fine because we were both running Docker and we had the same versions and all the dependencies, everything was already in the container. So you definitely want to make sure it works locally, even if that means on your machine for starting. But I would definitely recommend getting it pushed into a container. It makes it even better because it's an identical runtime environment. Um, if you do get it running and you make changes, again, you need to have these changes pushed up to your VCS. So whether that's Git, Bitbucket, whatever, all of these changes need to be um, put somewhere so you can iterate on them. Push early and push often. So I say I must hit Control S to save on my computer probably every 15 seconds when I'm coding. It's just like a habit. Well, you should be pushing every time you get like a minor thing done, like, oh, I updated this index file, git push every, or at least commit somewhere and stage your changes. Oh, I changed this and I had a problem with it and I finally got to a spot where it was working. Do a commit because you might break it after that and you want to roll back so you can, undo your own changes. So I just I liken it to just say Control S saving, but you're doing it so everybody can see it. Um, Once your changes are saved, you need to submit them for review. So once you do that git push, you got to have other people review it. You're going to have people look at diff files and Git, whatever it is the code review does. It's great to do code review with peers. It's even better to do it with a senior developer or a senior DevOps engineer or somebody like that that can look at it and maybe show you a better way to do something or a more concise way, a cleaner way to do it, whatever. Or they might catch something and be like, whoa, you don't want to do that because of X reason. Whatever it is. But once it gets up there and you've had it reviewed, you have to run automated tests. That's pretty common nowadays. So you should have commit hooks up for automated tests. So every time you push something, it triggers, Jenkins, Circle CI, Travis CI, something like that. And GitHub, you can do it. Even GitOps, you could do it in GitHub directly, so that you have these hooks to kind of go, hey, I got a new push. I'm gonna check this. I'm gonna check this out. I'm gonna run my test. In my last video, I used a Terra test to do an infrastructure as code test. You could do those as well. It can be whatever you want. Once it passes all the tests, you need to do, have people review it, looking for bugs, code guidelines, linting, all that other stuff. Then you can merge it into master or whatever your branching strategy is. At that point, once it's been merged, then you're just getting ready for release, right? And then whether you're doing a minor or a major release or whatever it's getting packaged up into, You may have other developers that are going to be pushing code, and I know at my job now, like I might have 11 changes, and we'll have a change log for our application that says, hey, this version is 9.1.7 and includes these 11 changes. So all those are all merge requests that come in that are being deployed as a result of being reviewed and passing all of the tests and whatnot. So whatever your strategy is, eventually you'll get to deploy, and you'll have deployment tooling, deployment strategies. You probably have a deployment server, promoting artifacts across environments, things like that. There's different ways to do it. You can have automated deployment, continuous deployment. Um, you can have any number of ways of doing it, but those are basically the steps. Whether you're using scripts or Kubernetes or Terraform or whatever you're doing, a lot of people just kind of do those steps that I included. So and then for deployment, you got rolling deployments, canary deployments, blue-green deployments. You can do the rolling with or without the replacements, stuff like that. So if you have a deployment server, you'll hear people talk about that. You can have a fully automated like CI/CDs kind of thing. You can run it from a consistent environment or have, whatever version of reality it is that you're deploying. So anyways, that's basically the steps. So in the next one, I'm going to go over a workflow for deploying infrastructure as code, which is less consistent across the board. So stay tuned for that one, and I will see you.